Hey all, Bree from the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I have got a gift for you this holiday season. If you love the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I mean love the No Guilt Mom podcast, then tell us about it. Leave us a review, and you can be entered to win a No Guilt Mom gift card. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and then simply go to noguiltmom.com/review to enter our giveaway for a free No Guilt Mom gift card, simply for telling us what you think about the podcast. It is amazing. But don't delay. Get right on this, as we're going to be giving away that No Guilt Mom gift card on December 21st. So get right on over and visit noguiltmom.com/review.
Hey, it's Joanne. And as you are enjoying all of your holiday fun, we have a special encore episode of the No Guilt Mom podcast for you. How big of an issue are screens right now in your house? It's probably big, right? Because everyone is at home, everyone is on their devices. Well, we have 4 tips to stop the technology tantrums. And guess what? We are not at all against screen time. Bring the screen time on, but we have a way for you to do it in a very doable way. So let's get on with the show. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by my co-host, Bree Tucker.
Why, hello, everybody. How are you?
We are talking about something a little fiery this morning. It has to deal with tech and stopping those technology tantrums at home. But the tech issue divides people in society for some reason.
Well, and it does. And I think part of the big thing on it, like we talked about it a little bit back when you had done an email about giving your son a phone. People feel very passionately about it one way or another. But I think there's one thing that no matter which side of tech, I don't want to say argument, but which side of the tech world you're on, either like it's okay for kids to have screens or it's not okay for them to ever have screens at all. Everybody has tantrums. Everybody has the tech tantrums within their household. At some point, you got to say that it's time to stop being on YouTube, time to stop playing video games, whatever. And there's going to be someone that's going to be like, no. I got my heart rate ripped out.
If you had to take away my cell phone, oh my gosh, I would be so mad. Like, could you think about it? Like, you're here, you're going through Instagram, and all of a sudden someone's like, okay, your time's up, hand it over. Be like, no, there was like this video I was watching of this dog. And
how'd you know what I'm doing on my Instagram? What? No.
No, that's what I do on my Instagram all the time.
We all know all that Brie looks at on the internet are funny videos of cats and dogs. That's what I use.
Oh my gosh. I have to tell you an account then. It's Harvey the Rescue. That you should go and look at this account, Harvey the Rescue. And I love it because it looks like my dog. He looks like my old dog, Lily, but he definitely has the personality of Addie. And so like, I just love watching it, but she posts the cutest videos of him just being adorable. Like, I'm pretty sure he's a Staffy. She says he's a pit bull. I think he's a Staffy because he looks exactly like my dogs. Yeah. Just a quick shout out there because it's squirrel, shiny object squirrel girl. It's what we are all about here at No Guilt Mom.
Well, okay, if we're gonna share one, then I like Tatum. Tatum is on TikTok. It's the dog. Oh. It's like with the bow tie. I like Tatum. Tatum's funny.
Oh, is it a little dog?
Tatum wants his nuggets. No, he's a bigger one. I want to say that he's also like a pit mix. But anyway, regardless, I love Tatum. Tatum is hilarious as well.
But it's good to note because we adults, we also have the technology addictions too, and they serve as entertainment, but also they get a little too much. There's times where I've been pulled into my phone and 45 minutes passes that I said I would do something else during that time. And I look back and I'm like, well, crap. And it comes to a point where you just want the phone not to have as much control over you.
Right.
And I think that's what we want for our kids too. We don't want our kids to be controlled by the phone. We want them to have the control over it.
Right. And we know that there's a lot that we're up against as parents. We know that games, technology, a lot of the apps on phones and on screen devices are created in a certain manner to get you to be addicted and to want to do it over and over again. But regardless, we have to be able to extract from it in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's what we're hoping to
So
help with today.
Yeah. And in our balance membership this coming up, they're doing a digital detox, something for parents and for kids. And don't worry, we're not going to ask you to like give up all your tech devices. It's more of a let's scale back, let's become more intentional, let's gain back the control we have of our time and see what else opens up in that time as well. So look for that. We have a link in the show notes to join that. And we're going to let you know how to stop those technology tantrums at home in this episode. So let's get on with the show. You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom Podcast.
Okay, so here's the problem that I'm just going to say that we pretty much all have. You've established screen time boundaries or household rules in your family, right? Everybody knows them. Yet it feels like every time that you have to tell your kids it's time to either shut off the video games, turn off YouTube, put down their phone. Everybody starts whining and crying. They tell you that you're lame. Oh, so-and-so's parents don't make me do this. That's a big one I get from my teen. But so-and-so's parents don't do that kind of stuff. Or even worse yet, this is a lot of times with I see a lot with the younger kids, you get full out tantrums. We're talking screaming. We're talking crying. We're talking throwing stuff. And it's just like, what is happening?
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people see the tantrums and they're like, oh my gosh, my kids are addicted. They're addicted to technology. That's why these tantrums are happening. And we're here to tell you, that's not really the whole issue going on. It's typical.
Not necessarily. Yeah. It's not necessarily what's happening.
Yeah. It's
and
a
you're not
typical child behavior. And you're not alone. Exactly. It's something that whenever kids are asked to do something that they don't want to do, they're going to have a tantrum. They're going to have a fight. But technology seems to be a really, really sticking point in a lot of households because one, we have this pressure that too much screen time is bad. And somehow it is our failings as moms in particular if we let our kids have too much screen time.
Well, yeah, because, first of all, if you have anybody in your life that says that they have the perfect screen time system set up and their kids never complain, that is sus right there. I don't trust that person.
That's not happening.
I don't trust them that every time without fail, their kids are happily like, oh, time to put down your phone. Okay, mother, here you go.
Here you go. May I go clean the kitchen now?
Yes, right? Would you like us to go dance through the hills and sing a song with the family? No, that doesn't really.
Forget the piccolo.
Yes, that is sus right there. And second of all, like you said, as moms, and now I will admit, all caretakers do deal with this. 100% deal with kids being upset when a rule is enforced or a boundary is enforced that the child doesn't want to have necessarily enforced. But moms often bear the brunt of it because of the fact that we're often the main caregiver. We're often the default parent. We're the ones that are around the kids.
The she-fault parent. Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
as Eve Rodsky likes to say. That's from Eve Rodsky. She-fault parent. Mm-hmm.
I like that, the she-fault parent. Because we're often the main caretakers. So we're the ones that have to face it the most, which I think is what gives us sometimes this unfair thought process of Bob. We've talked about that before. That voice in our head that says, oh, you're screwing this up because blah, blah, blah. Or even worse yet, and this is the one that happens and I hate it, somebody else chimes in. So maybe you're trying to take away screens, whatever, right? Grandma and grandpa are there. Or your parenting partner is there. Or your sister who doesn't quite have kids yet or has kids, but in a different age group, and they all like to say well, my kids don't do that, or your kids shouldn't be doing that right now. They really shouldn't be. You know why they're acting like that? Because they're addicted, because you're doing it wrong.
Or let them have, or here's another one. Let them have their screen time. They're only kids. What's it going to do? Like, just goes against you in any way regarding it. Yeah.
Yes. Right there, we call BS on that situation. That is no, and no. It is not fair that you take on everybody else's judgment because you're trying to enforce the healthy boundaries that your family has set aside for screen time. So
yeah, it's one of those situations where if I am in that same situation with somebody and maybe they do something parenting wise that I might not necessarily do with my own kids, I keep my mouth shut. You keep your mouth shut. And if anyone else is coming in and telling you like what to do with your kids, they need to keep their mouth shut. It's not something that parents need on their plate, because when I go into those situations, I'm like, look, I don't know the whole scenario. I don't know what they've had to deal with before regarding this. I don't know the other challenges they're dealing with regarding this. So I have no business inserting my opinion in at this moment, because I'm probably absolutely wrong.
Well,
that's what everyone is who comes in with with issues when people, when you set screen time limits.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I think that when you're going through it in the moment, and especially if your kid is having an outburst of some way, shape, or form, or is challenging you, there is that aspect of you're upset. We just recorded another episode that aired a couple weeks before this one about like how you need to, when you feel like your kids are trying to push your buttons, how you need to like recognize your emotions yourself, take a moment, separate, You can't take that feedback or judgment from somebody else in any way of a constructive manner when you're going through those emotional, like when you're feeling all the feelings of your kids pushing back against a boundary. I don't want to say like having a tantrum, acting out, but really, I guess that is what it is. So like, you can't take that at that moment. So if you really feel like you have advice to offer later, and you don't just offer it, you just like, so how did you feel about that? Off support to your friend or your daughter or your sister or whomever, your spouse, because it's hard. It's hard.
It's support first. It's always support first. And that's all. Whatever I see other parents, I am always supporting first. I am like, oh my gosh, this is a really tough situation. Like, kids are the worst.
And I think, and we need to know that. Like, as moms, like, we need to support one another from that stupid voice in our head that's telling us we're screwing up and doing everything wrong and we're the worst possible parent in the world and we have no idea what we're talking about. We need to support each other so that we know that we're not alone. So, like, everybody has this struggle. At some point in time, everybody has had a kid throw a fit about the fact that there's been a boundary on technology in their household.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. This message is sponsored by Greenlight. It is so hard to raise kids who know how to manage money. Bree, right now, my kids are all about earning money for presents. My daughter wants to get presents for all of her friends, and my son is doing a Secret Santa with his friends.
Oh, I hear you. And if you're looking to raise kids that are financially responsible, we have got a lifesaver recommendation for you that you need to check out. It is Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy, all while giving parents peace of mind.
You can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. Meanwhile, your kids can begin their journey towards financial autonomy by learning how to save, invest, and spend wisely.
So sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM.
That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM. This holiday season, I am super excited about this gift that I'm giving my parents. It is going to make them feel special and unique. Well, at least I hope it will. It's going to give me so many great stories so that I get to know them better and so that my kids get to know them better as well. It is Storyworth, which is an online service that helps you and your loved ones preserve precious memories and stories for years to come. It's so funny because I originally originally gave Storyworth to my mom because my mom doesn't typically tell us the stories. We don't know much about her childhood. And so I gave her this gift, and she is working on her Storyworth. She's having a little bit of challenge trying to figure out what to say, but the Storyworth questions are really helping her along. Like, what's the bravest thing you've ever done in your life? Or if you could see into the future, what would you want to find out? I am super excited to read her stories. And with Storyworth, I'm giving those I love most a thoughtful, personal gift from the heart and preserving their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/NGM and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/NGM to save $10 on your first purchase. Yeah.
And like you said, you and I do. We have a routine set up at night where our lights dim down to like just 5% when we're supposed to turn our screens off. Like, because my husband and I, we get in bed at night, we do our Wordle, we do our spelling bee, and sometimes we'll do our looking up our funny videos on TikTok or Instagram, whatever. But we found that we were really bad about stopping it. So we have that light that goes on. The whole point of the story is that when the light goes on, I get mad. I get frustrated sometimes because I'm like, I was in the middle of a really, really cute dog video, and this dog is like doing something really funny, and I want to keep watching it because it gives me those positive brain chemicals going on, and I'm forgetting which one at the moment, but it gives you all of that. There we go, the positive endorphins. But it still happens. So my point is that I get mad at a freaking light when it tells me that I have a boundary. So yeah, it's normal for kids to react negatively.
It is totally normal. The first thing you could do is first agree on those limits with your kids. This is different from agreeing on limits yourself and trying to enforce them with your kids. I'm saying to have a discussion with your kids and agree on the limits together, because this is your first step in the battle. If they agree to something and then go the extra step and have them write it down and post it on the refrigerator, there's a lot less to fight over in the moment because you've already had the discussion. You've already set the limits. And it's so, so helpful going through these tantrums if you have those agreed on limits.
Right. And I think some of the good ways or some of the positive ways that you can do that, it's family meetings. I love family meetings, but when you're having it. So this is an important one to do with all ages. And I know that we went over this recently, and I'm trying to remember who we went over it with. I think it was with Andrea Davis. Yes, this was Andrea Davis.
It was with Andrea Davis.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So like you have a family meeting and you talk about with your kids, first of all, what are all the positives of screen time, technology time, however you want to word it, right? What are all the positives? What are the negatives about it? Because no matter how old your kid is, if they are 5, 6, 16, they will be able to identify some of the positives and some of the negatives. And then it's not you preaching to them the whole time. Mm-hmm. Because that's when they kind of like stop listening and you start getting frustrated because they're just being talked to and they feel like they don't really have a voice in it. So I always want to like throw that out there. Definitely make sure that when you're having this, and like you said, Joanne, when you're talking about and agreeing on limits, make sure that you really are agreeing on limits and that some way, shape, or form your kids feel heard, because then they're going to have more buy-in to what you're talking about.
And agreeing at a time where you're not trying to enforce the made up upon limit. Here's where this won't work. If you're like, hey, kiddo, you've had like so much screen time today. Let's come over here and let's talk on some limits to use for the screen time. That's going to blow up in your face because right then they're going to be mad that they were stopped on screen time to talk about limits. The same goes for like, okay, let's have a family meeting on this right now. Or asking them in the moment, what's bad about screen time? They're going to be like, I don't know. Because they are so emotionally charged from being taken away from an activity that they're in the middle of and engaged in that it's going to backfire. So with agreeing on limits and with family meetings, it's good to set a time for the future so that everyone can think about it. Everyone can come in calm. It's not interrupting anything.
Yeah. And you can come in with your game plan. Matter of fact, I always suggest that. Like if you have a parenting partner in the home with you, talk to that parenting partner beforehand. You guys come in with your game plan of what ideally you would like to walk out of the family meeting with as your limits. but realize that you might want to concede on some small points to get to that big win at the end. So, so what I'm saying is, like, let's say you come in and you're like, hey, I want to make sure that we do no more than 2 hours of screen time every single day. And that's probably even, I don't know. That's just what I'm going to throw out there. 2 hours every single day, no more than that. And your kids are like, well, I really like to do this. And when I add them together, that makes like 2.5 hours. Can we please get 2.5 hours? And you're thinking to yourself in your head, no, I said 2 hours. Maybe be willing to negotiate a little bit now, and then you can try to pull off of it later. Like, it's just, it's that whole give and take.
Yeah. I like in our house, we have 2 hours a day. However, it is 2 hours a day it's just my son, because my daughter's at the time now where we're having discussions about it and mental health, because I know she's going to be in college in a few years and she needs to manage this herself.
Yeah.
But my son, he's very much on the time limits, and he gets 2 hours to use at his leisure. Now, that is not saying that he only gets that time per day. There are circumstances where he can ask for more time, which we can get into a little bit later. But know that if you have a set time, it doesn't mean that you're a bad parent if you go over that time with screen time. It just means that this is the limit, and they're going to have to do something a little bit extra maybe to get more if they want it, or it's like other circumstances, but we can get into that a little bit later.
Right. I was going to say, that's a good point. I know I'm looking at our list. I know that's a little further down on the list.
It's on there. It's down there. I'm jumping ahead.
But it's a good point. So the first things first is agree on the limits at a time where nobody is currently using their technology. So like have a preset time that is agreed upon. We're all going to talk about it. Family meetings. I personally love to bribe my kids with good food. For my kids to get them to buy in, I have to we normally do pizza for my son, and then my daughter gets to pick a dessert. And like that is the draw in to get everybody there in a decent mood so we can have a decent conversation. So you have the meeting, you agree on limits. What's the next thing you do? I know we kind of talked about this one too a little bit.
Use an outside device to set the limits. Like, don't put yourself in the position of a police, because that is not fun.
Exhausting. It's exhausting.
If you're the one having to keep the time, it is exhausting. And if you're having to keep the time, that is your mental energy being spent on tracking what time is used, which you could be using for different things. So use an outside device, whether that is Google Family Link, which is a great one we've used for a while, whether it's Apple Screen Time, whether it is Microsoft Family, which we're using right now because my son has a PC he plays Roblox on, and that helps keep those screen time limits there. Whatever it is, all it needs to be is something that will turn the device off when the time is reached. You don't have to go into like the big security things, because those come at different times. Like, you have conversations with kids. We're only talking about the amount of time used, but it's so helpful. Have that outside device.
There are so many ways that you can do this where you don't have to necessarily, like you said, be the police. I want to say you don't necessarily have to be the bad guy as well. So there are ways to make it so that you're not having to take on the brunt of policing everything all the time, and use it for your own mental health, health as a mom.
And I know that it comes up that how do you do it when your screen time is TV time and electronics time? I wouldn't recommend putting TV time in that screen time allowance, because it is just too hard to control. And that's the only reason.
Yeah, I would say in that case, like it depends on every family and every situation and how they're doing the TV and the screen time and all that kind of stuff. So just to share real quick on my own thing, like at one point I thought I had it figured out slightly. And the house that I'm living in now, I've been here for the last 4 years. When we moved in right from the get-go, I told the kids no TVs in your bedroom.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're hitting that time of year where my brain gets so overloaded in December that I look for anything to make life easier. And I have to say, Brie, that Green Chef is one of those services.
Yes, Green Chef is there to take away the dreaded, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? You can eat clean all holiday long with over 80 weekly meal options each week, featuring things like quick and easy, protein-packed, calorie-smart, or my personal favorite, the keto options.
And you don't have to lose track of healthy eating habits during the holidays because every Green Chef customer gets a free session with one of their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you, which is very cool.
And I have to say that I have been loving their recipes lately. They put things together I have never thought of. This week we're trying the lemon basil caper pork with sauteed cauliflower, bell peppers, almonds, and feta cheese, my favorite. Their recipes make it so easy to support my wellness goals without skipping on flavor.
For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code NGM250 at greenchef.com/NGM250. That's greenchef.com/NGM250. And don't forget to use that code NGM250 to get $250 off.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
My son is playing a game right now on his computer where he's a thief and the cops are after him. So I'm so excited about this new app, Give As We Grow, where instead of being the quote unquote bad guys, kids are practicing giving back.
That is so cool, Joanne. I really wish that there was something like this when my kids were younger that got them excited about giving back to others and helped them build a better understanding of what it really means to volunteer.
Give As We Grow is the first of its kind free educational mobile app for children ages 8 to 11 that teaches kids via fun, service-focused minigame quests to tap into their unique talents and interests to help others.
And did you know that studies show that there is a biological connection between generosity and happiness, and that volunteering improves people's physical and mental health? I mean, kids who volunteer typically do better in school and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. And that is something that I think we all want for our kids.
Ready to spark a new movement in generosity? Find and download Give As We Grow for free in the App Store for Android and iOS. And for resources for the whole family, visit giveaswegrow.org.
Right, you're not going to have a TV in your bedroom. And so we only have 2 TVs in this house. One, if you're watching the video, like it's you've seen it before. It's on the wall in my bedroom. There's one in here, and then there's one in our living room, and that is it. And I thought I was smart, Joanne, when that happened, because my kids were in like elementary, early, middle, and I was like, oh yeah, I got this covered because there's no way they'll be able to watch TV in their rooms, except for the fact then they all got laptops and smart devices eventually, and so then now they're in there watching Netflix on their smart device. So they ended up finding their own little way around it. But the point being is that there might be a time when you can include screen time in that technology, but know that as they get older, it's going to be a lot harder to keep that control on it. And again, it gives you that much more opportunities to feel like you're failing if you can't control it. And that is something that is really hard to control. There's a lot of little ways to have them get in.
Also, can we give a little tangent here?
I love tangents.
I think that TV has been really demonized by our society, particularly American culture. And like in European cultures, I honestly don't know. I don't know. So I have no way to speak to that. But something about TV is that it's relaxing. It's great to dig into a story of a show. You learn some things too if you're watching docs. You like see human empathy at work if you're watching like good fiction television. And there's so much great stuff about TV. The point is, and I'm coming off of this just from reading Trisha Hersey's book called Rest as Resistance. It's all about how rest is really not observed in our society whatsoever. It is not honored. It is think as like sloth and laziness. Trisha Hersey writes this from her experience as a Black woman and how Black people have been used, their bodies have been used for like capitalism as machines, and how rest is just not something given. But it pertains to a lot of our society. We're a very capitalist society where our bodies are treated as machines instead of allowing to rest. And I think TV's rest. And so I was wondering, that's the reason I bring this up. Do you think that a lot of the pushback against television is this pushback against rest and not being productive?
Well, I think a lot of people have a thought process that if you're sitting down, you're not being productive. and they beat themselves up for that. So I think that's a huge thing right there. I think that I'm on the mindset too, that I do believe that what you do that is enjoyable to you is rest. Another example would be, and again, like how that's different for people. My ex-husband used to like the way his brain would relax at night is he would watch TV and fall asleep to the television. That didn't work for me. It kept me awake. And so like for him, in a case like that, watching something and just having that noise on in the background of something mundane, whatever, that helped him actually rest and relax. Me, it fired me up. So, but at the same time, like if I've had a really busy day and I'm just physically exhausted from either what I was doing or I'm emotionally exhausted from a really like emotional day, I'll want to do something that I don't have to be that invested in. And so like you said, like maybe sitting down and watching a documentary or watching a favorite movie or something, like I'm in a bad mood. I want to watch something I want to have something that's going to make me laugh. And
watching some Project Runway.
I was going to say, whatever it is. And again, everybody's different. Like if my kids are, like if there's somebody else here, I might want to go hang out with them, or maybe I don't. Maybe they're the reason I'm emotionally exhausted. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
because I mean, if you really think to it, what is the real reason behind not wanting kids to watch TV? Because the real reason I'm seeing is that they're doing nothing and they're not being productive or growing their brains, which I think is very achievement based and doesn't promote the wonderfulness of doing nothing.
I think that everybody's going to have their different opinions on that, and every family is going to be different. And I think that I could see a lot of people giving us pushback on that one, but at the same time, I could see a lot of people sighing a breath of relief going like, oh, thank God that's okay. Because I thought it was terrible that my kid was,
I'm not saying it's good or bad, but what I'm tired about is this automatic demonization of television.
Yeah, a
and being like, it's totally bad. It's not totally bad. It's a form of rest and entertainment. Entertainment is not bad. I used to work in entertainment. It is like a multi-billion-dollar industry if we're looking at it from an achievement basis.
Right.
I see it all the time and I'm like, but why? There's always that nagging thought, but why is it so bad? And I'm not seeing it.
No, across the board, no. Yeah. So I think sometimes that's how our family bonds too in our household, is watching something together. I especially love getting to watch a series with my kids because they're teens and I feel like there's not a lot that we can connect on all the time anymore. And so that really gives us something that we can connect on. So we're just saying, we personally don't believe it is the dark side. We don't.
It's not the dark side.
That across the board, terrible things are going to happen if your kids are watching TV. We just don't believe that.
Nor do we believe that everything has to be educational on TV. Please no. You need entertainment and art and fun and love and emotion in your life. It's not frivolous.
So moving on to item 3, the third thing to keep in mind is that it's okay to say no. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah, if you see your child turning into a little demon monster because they've been sitting and not having any activity for the past like 3 hours and you could and they still want more screen time and they're arguing with you, it's okay to be like, no, we reached our limits.
Yeah,
look exactly. There's the thing on the fridge. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I love that point there too. Like we didn't mention that, like when you've agreed on the limit, write it down, put it somewhere so that you don't have to constantly be reminding them, because that's a thing too. I forget a lot of things. We all know that. I do not have the world's best memory. And because of that, it is not a hill I will die on. Like 90% of the time, if I'm having a disagreement with somebody about something that I recollect, I'll normally be like, well, I mean, I could be wrong, but this is how I remember it. And I feel like with my kids, they use that to their advantage a lot. Of like, that's not what you said, Mom. That's not what we did last time. And if you have it written down, you don't have to be the one that's constantly nagging, reminding everybody, going back to it. It's like, it's right there. Nope, it's right there. Sorry.
It's right there.
Right there.
Yeah. I feel like I have a really good memory, but my kids still try to gaslight me and tell me I said things that I did not say. And I'm like, I did not say that. I trust my own brain. Thank you. That didn't happen. And I think kids just do that because they have different memories of situations than we do.
Right. They do. And just like anybody else, sometimes they're always trying to see where how firm that boundary is, which leads us into, oh, go ahead.
Well, also they have a tendency towards overgeneralization. So if you said one time for a specific instance that something was okay, kids have the tendency to come back and generalize it to every single instance, every single situation.
Yeah.
So if you're like, oh yeah, you could have screen time, some more screen time today, because like you're working downstairs and everything, kids will be like, oh yeah, well, a few weeks ago you said I could have screen time. You're here ready to go like outside with them, but they're remembering that time when you had to work and you said it was okay. And like,
well, I was going to say, especially when you have those people that are very strong black and white thinkers. We have a couple of those in our household where it's a little bit more of a neurodiverse type of mindset where things are very, it's this or it's this. There is no gray. They have a very hard time grasping those grays. So yeah, those are definitely the times that like you'll do a negotiation of some way, shape, or form that day, and your kids will think that that applies to everything because you did it once. So, and again, which leads us into item number 4.
Negotiation's okay. It's okay. You don't have to stick to hard and true deadlines. In our house, negotiation, it happens all the time. I want my kids to negotiate. I don't want them to blindly follow with authority figures. I don't want that to happen. I think that that is a dangerous situation for them in the future, especially in terms of their career. I want them to negotiate respectfully and politely, but disrespect isn't asking or negotiating. Disrespect is like yelling and calling names. So I think we have to
throwing the phone at you.
throwing the phone at you.
That's not
negotiating is, hey, can I have 30 more minutes on screen time, or putting that request through Microsoft Family. The thing is with negotiation, make sure you're getting something out of it too. I always think about that when my kids ask for more. And because of that, that is how we really make sure chores get done in the house. My son finishes his screen time. He asks for more time. He comes to me and I'm like, is everything done? And he's like, oh no, it's not. And at first that was a big tantrum when I first started doing that. Oh, I don't want to do it now. And I'm like, well, don't have to do it now, but you're not getting any more screen time until you get it done. So it's your choice here. And now, since we've been pretty consistent with it, he does his chores before he asks for screen time. We've gotten him to fold clothes. His clothes are folded. We gotten the boy to brush his teeth, which is very hard with 9-year-old boys.
Anything that has to do with bathing is hard with boys in general. 90%.
Anything with bathing. Take a shower. The rule now is if when we ask you when's the last time you take a shower, if it's not last night, it's time to take a shower.
So that's not a bad rule of thumb, I would say.
It's a pretty good one. There were times where we asked him and he's like, he couldn't even think of the last time he took a shower. We're like, okay, we need to renegotiate these here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, negotiation's okay.
Yeah. And I think that you said a good thing on that too, is that if you're negotiating, that is like a as needed thing. You're not doing it every day. Because if you start negotiating every single day, chances are your kids are going to keep trying to push that limit because they're going to be like, okay, well, it changes a lot. So, or mom doesn't really mean it because every time if I just ask her for more, I'm going to get more. So, and I think you also mentioned too about like, it's not necessarily disrespect them asking for it, but just know that well, first of all, when you start putting in limits and you haven't had it before or you haven't been consistent with it before, there's going to be pushback from your kids. And it's not them trying to push your buttons. It's not them being little punks. They are literally just trying to figure out if how firm this boundary is. Just like you would do too, right? Like, I don't know about anybody else, but like I'm out there driving and I'm on the freeway and the speed limit says 65 and I'm like, I'm getting past. I'm like, I think I can push it a little further, all the way up until 9 miles an hour over before I get a speeding ticket. But I'm just saying it's natural for people to push the boundaries to see how far and how firm something is.
Yeah, I would have to say I do have conversations with my kids about tech every day about screen time. It's not like negotiating per se, but it's that time where they come to me and I'm like, okay, well, what else do you have to do? What else can you be doing? I think you need to do something else. My son, after a lot of those conversations, he'll come to me after he uses tech. He's like, okay, I'm going to go take my bike out for a ride around the block. And I'm like, cool. You're getting off your screen. That's awesome. If he ever asks at night for more time, it's no, you need to switch to like a book or something right now because using screen time before bed makes it harder to fall asleep.
Right.
So
And
there's always reasons when I say no. It's not like a no just for the sake of adhering to the time. It's a no based on reasons.
That's excellent, because that's what our kids mainly, they need to know that there is a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
That again, it's not some arbitrary no. Because 9 times out of 10, we have a reason for it. We said no more than X amount of screen time because of the reasons that you just said. You can't have more screen time because I need you to go to bed in the next hour, and studies have proven it wakes up your brain and makes it harder for your body to fall asleep. So that's why it's a no. So, I mean, I don't think talking about it daily is bad, but I'm just saying if you're every day moving that time, you set a boundary of no more than 2 hours, and every day you guys are negotiating on being more than 2 hours, then just know they're going to keep asking.
Well, yeah. So let me say this. Maybe you don't want to say no more than 2 hours.
Yeah, right? If you find yourself doing
no more than 2 hours.
Just
if you're like, hey, I'll give you like screen time you can use anytime, 2 hours a day. Cool. After that, we talk.
Right. So again, you're going to have to find what works for your family, but by having some of these rules in place, you're going to greatly decrease, if not stop, those tantrums. I can't remember the last time that my kids had a tantrum about technology. I really don't. Because we do have a very open conversation about it. And so because of that, whenever it's brought up that, hey, you need to kind of go off for a little while and do something else, they don't typically argue because they know my reasons why. And they also know that they've had a say in it. So
exactly.
It does make it a lot easier.
Exactly. So agree on those limits. Use that outside device. It's okay to say no if you have your reasons for it. And negotiation's okay. Just make sure that you're benefiting from it too. Because a lot of times negotiation, it's mutually beneficial, because we think we should do these things as moms and set these limits, but then we don't have our own good reasons behind it, and therefore we extend it. We think we're being crappy, and then it's like this whole feelings extravaganza.
It is.
So we're just saying it's okay.
It's okay. But these things will help.
You can give them more screen time, and these things will help. Yeah, definitely. The best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by. Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday, who is pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.